Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today, of course, is Monday, May 25th, 2026. Of course, this is the last Monday of May. So, for those in the States, happy Memorial Day. Um, from what I was just told by Rick yesterday, I guess for our northern neighbors, happy Queen Anne's birthday as well. Um, that her birthday happened over the weekend here. So, anyways, we're going to, of course, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. As always, guys, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. And as always, if anything grabs your attention from anything that we cover tonight, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Well, with all that being said, of course, we're just waiting to make sure more people show up before we get started. Um, let's see. Yeah, just checking some things here. So, anyways, hey there, Nat Sherry, look at that. Yeah, I arrived totally debt free. Well, congratulations. Now the trick is to stay debt free, right? With a little fiscal discipline, I'm sure you can master that. Um, so, anyways, so it looks like we do have some more people in here now. So, I guess I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, Bleeding Fool did come out with an article about something that Metal had originally brought to our attention last week. About a Scooby Doo anime that's coming out of Japan. So we'll be looking at that article, and depending on how much time we have left over, we might even do a little bit of a profile piece on Scooby Doo's original voice of Don Messick, the legend himself. We'll talk a little bit about his life and career. Of course, we'll also get all caught up on all the latest in the world of professional wrestling. Obviously get caught up on W SmackDown. Well, we'll probably just skip right to Saturday night's main event. Talk about Saturday night's main event, um, and Sundays, as well as Double or Nothing from yesterday. We'll look ahead to tonight's Monday Night Raw, as it'll be the go home Raw before this weekend's clash in Italy. We'll probably try to get everything all set up there, and then we'll of course wrap things up with this day in each history. So, anyway, so it looks like we're coming up on 4 minutes. So I guess just gonna go ahead and get started. Um, all that being said, here. Um, and away we go, as the saying goes. Alrighty then, so here we go. All right, so Shaggy and Scooby to hit Japan in new anime series. Article by Ali Rizvi, um, published today, May 25th, 2026. There we go. We got some interesting characters there, and there's of course Shaggy and Scooby up top of the mystery machine there. So let's see what's going on here now. A new anime take on the classic Scooby-Doo franchise is coming soon. The project marks the first time the long-running series gets a full anime treatment. Titled Yokoso Scooby-Doo, the show follows Shaggy and Scooby as they travel across Japan on a food-filled adventure. Now that'd be something. So, can you imagine Shaggy and Scooby taking in Japanese cuisine, taking in ramen, taking in like soba, taking in teriyaki chicken, rice, um, gyoza, egg rolls, you name it. Just a bunch of, you know, let's see, trying to think of shrimp, so, anyways, so the duo soon unleashes hundreds of yokai, the mythical monsters from Japanese folklore. Chaos spreads across the country as these creatures cause trouble. Yeah, a number of many different yokai legends. That'd be interesting to note. Shaggy and Scooby team up with new allies to stop the yokai. Those partners include Scooby's uncle Daisuke Do, a magical girl named Yume, must be the pink-haired girl, and a gadget expert called Takumi. Frank Welker returns as Scooby, the role he originated. Matthew Lillard, who played Shaggy in the live-action films, voices the character again. Director Ichiro Kawasaki takes the helm. He previously worked on The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting and Ark the Lad. Japanese studio OLM, known for its work on the Pokemon anime, handles production. The series comes from Warner Brothers Animation. Hey, Metal! That you've got here. Alright, so Variety first reported the details of the plot and team. No release date has been set yet. The anime will stream exclusively on Tubi in North America. Cartoon Network will air the show in other countries. This crossover arrives at a time when American studios lean more on international styles to reach global audiences. Fans can soon add Yokoso Scooby-Doo to their watch list next to hits like Dragon Ball Z and One Piece. The move highlights ongoing efforts by Warner Brothers to refresh classic properties for new generations. Scooby-san! Alright, so that's pretty much all we got there. Pretty quickie. So as I did say, of course, depending upon the time, now you kind of knew this one was going to go pretty quickly, so we need something more to talk about. So what I decided to do tonight is we're going to head over to the Wikipedia, look up, of course, introduce you guys. I'm going to introduce you guys to Scooby's original voice, Don Messick, and look back at the life and career of Don Messick. And Scooby was his primary voice, but Scooby was not the only voice that Don Messick did. Alrighty then, so here we go. Don Messick, one of the legendary voices of animation. Let's go over to the box on the right here before we get into the more in-depth stuff. Born Donald Earl Messick, September 7th, 1926, in Buffalo, New York, United States of America. Died October 24th, 1997, at the age of 71, in Salinas, California. Occupation voice actor. Years active, 1941 to 1996. Voice, of course, known for being the voice of Scooby-Doo. Hewlin M. McHugh was with his spouse. Married her in 1953. And I would imagine they stayed married up until his passing. And then they had one child together. All right, so let's go ahead and into all this, of course. Donald Earl Messick, September 7, 1926 to October 24, 1997, was an American voice actor known for his performances in Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Okay, so they are saying his best, but it should be he's best remembered. His best remembered voice roles include Scooby-Doo, Bam Bam Rubble, and Hoppy in the Flintstones, Astro in the Jets. He did a lot of dog a lot of what starting with Scooby, and then also continued with Astro and Muttley. Actually, Astro was probably before Scooby-Doo. Muttley and Wacky Races, and Dastardly and Muttley and their flying machines. Boo Boo Bear and Ranger Smith in the Yogi Bear Show. Sebastian the Cat in Josie and the Pussycats. Gears, Ratchet, and Scavenger in the G1 Transformers cartoon. Papa Smurf and Azrael in the Smurfs. Hamilton J. Pig in Tiny Toon Adventures. Dr. Benton Quest in Johnny Quest. Also, of course, provided the voice of Ruff and Reddy, the very first Hanna-Barbera cartoon produced for television. So, all right, so early life. Getting a little bit of a background on early life here. Messick was born on September 7th, 1926 in Buffalo, New York, the son of Binford Earl Messick, a house painter, and Lena Birch Nee Hughes. He had one brother, F. Tomic Messick. He was raised in the Bolton Hill neighborhood of Baltimore, where he received his early training as a performer at the Ramsey Street School of Acting. Career, his early work. So let's talk a little bit about Don Messick's early work here. At first, Messick wanted to be a ventriloquist, and even supported himself as one for a time. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, in the late 19, at the age of 15, which would have been probably around 1941, 42, around there, Messick performed in front of the program manager and chief announcer at radio station WBOC in Salisbury, Maryland, and was given his own weekly show, for which Messick performed all of the characters, voices, and sound effects. Messick moved back to Baltimore a year later after graduating high school and approached radio station WCCO AO about getting his one-man show on the air. As Messick worked to reduce the Baltimore accent, identified by the manager of WCAO as an impediment to his radio career, Messick's father was killed along with two other men in an accident at the Nanticoke School. Two other workers and he were taking down a flagpole when it came into contact with electric power wires, electrocuting all three men. In 1944, Messick joined the U.S. Army, performing for troops as part of the Special Services for 20 months. The Special Services, I think, were the entertainers who were there to like entertain the troops, kind of try to keep, help morale. Probably working hand in hand with the USO, I would believe. I think the Special Services were the government side of it, while the USO was the private side of it. And we, of course, continue on here. Messick's first big break came when he was hired by the Mutual Broadcasting radio station in Los Angeles, where he played Raggedy Andy and Farmer Seedling on the radio show The Raggedy Ann Show. At MGM, Tex Avery was producing the Droopy cartoons when regular voice actor Bill Thompson was unavailable. Avery hired Messick at veteran MGM voice actor Dawes Butler's recommendation. Of course, Dawes Butler and Don Messick would work a lot together for Hanna-Barbera. As I said, they were the first. They were the two main voice actors for Ruff and Reddy, the very first Hanna-Barbera television cartoon, where Messick voiced Ruff and Reddy was voiced by Don Messick. And they would continue working together throughout. Early Hanna-Barbera voice work. Early Hanna-Barbera voice work. When William Hanna and Joseph Barbera formed their own animation studio, Hanna-Barbera, in 1957, Messick and Butler became the voice acting team for the company. Yep. Messick and Butler's first collaboration was Ruff and Reddy, as I pointed out several times already. Messick was Ruff, the cat, and Droopy Soundling, Professor Gizmo, or Droopy sounding Professor Gizmo, while Butler played the dog Reddy. Messick also narrated the show, which had a serialized storyline. Yeah, and if you've ever watched Ruff and Reddy and you kind of recognize his narration voice, because it sounds like a voice he did a little later on, starting about a year later on, Ranger Smith from Yogi Bear, the Yogi Bear segments of the Huckleberry Hound show. From 1958 to 1959, Messick played Tadpole in the animated television series Spunky and Tadpole, produced by Beverly Hills Productions. Friendly reminder, of course, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. That being said, continuing on here, from 1957 to 1965, Butler and Messick gave voice to a large number of characters, almost always the sidekick or supporting foil. Messick's characters were not usually headliners. His notable roles in this era were, of course, Boo Boo Bear, Ranger Smith, Major Minor. So Boo Boo Bear and Ranger Smith from Yogi Bear, Major Minor, Pixie Mouse from Pixie Dixie and Jinxie, Astro on the Jetsons, and Dr. Benton Quest, replacing John Stevenson on The Adventures of Johnny Quest. On the Flintstones, in addition to many episodic characters and creatures, he voiced Bam Bam Rubble, Hoppy the Hopperoo, Hopperoo basically being the Stone Age version of a kangaroo, and Arnold the Paperboy. He was used primarily for his narration skills, which were heard on many of those cartoons in which Daws Butler starred. In narrating the Huckleberry Hound show and as Ranger Smith in Yogi Bear segments, he used something close to his natural voice. Messick was eventually featured as Ricochet Rabbit in Ricochet Rabbit 1964-65 with Deputy Droopalong, while Deputy Droopalong was voiced by Mel Blanc. So you had a few times when Messick and Blanc were paired together too in some cartoons. Of course, Mel Blanc would also play Barney Rubble in the Flintstones. So imagine that, Mel Blanc playing the father figure to Mel Blanc playing father figure Barney Rubble to Messick Bam Bam, young Bam Bam. He did voices of the title character in Precious Pup. Of course, Precious Pup being basically starring opposite of June for I believe it might have been actually Janet Waldo's voice. Granny and Shag Rug from Beverly and Hillbilly Bears, rather. Both of which were segments from the Adamant and Secret Squirrel show. In 1966, Messick took over the roles of Adamant and Mr. Peebles on the Magilla Gorilla show from Howard Morris, who had left Hanna-Barbera over some issues there. In outer space and superhero cartoons, Don Messick created noises and sounds for weird space creatures and aliens. His Ranger Smith voice was often heard as various villains. His narrator voice was given to Vaporman on the Galaxy Trio of the Birdman and Galaxy Trio cartoon, Dr. Benton Quest, the Perilous Paper Doll Man, and Multi-Man on the Impossibles. Scooby-Doo in later roles. Scooby-Doo in later roles. Whoa, Reggie. In 1969, he was cast as the cowardly canine title character on Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? He voiced him through all of the various versions of Scooby-Doo on television in numerous formats from 1969 until his retirement, including television films and a number of commercials as well. In 1970, he voiced Sebastian on Josie and the Pussycats and reprised the role in its spin-off Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space 2 years later, as well as voicing the new alien character Bleep from 1980 to 1988. He voiced Scooby's nephew Scrappy Doo. Put him up, Having taken over the role originated by Lenny Reinrib in 1979. Lenny Reinrib, who would, of course, go on to voice Hunk in Voltron. He continued to voice Scooby-Doo when a pup named Scooby-Doo came along from 1988 to 1991. In Hong Kong Phooey, number one super guy. He was the voice of Spot the cat, a faithful sidekick that was the one who foiled the villain's plans. And of course, he would play opposite Scatman Crothers, who was the voice of Spot, who is the voice of the title character in Hong Kong Phooey. Of course, Scatman Crothers and Don Messick would go on later to work together on Transformers as well. As previously mentioned, of course, Don voiced Gears, Ratchet, and Scavenger from Transformers. Scatman Crothers voiced Jazz. So. Though he left the clueless title character, though he let the clueless title character take the glory. In 1977, he voiced Balin and a few incidental characters in the first animated adaptation of The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. By the 1970s, the popularity of Yogi Bear led to several spin-off TV series and television movies featuring the character. Messick reprised his roles of Boo Boo and Ranger Smith from the 1970s until 1994 on Yogi's Gang, Laugh Olympics, Yogi's Treasure Hunt, and the new Yogi Bear Show. He played Papa Smurf on the Smurfs from 1981 to 1989, and Ratchet, the Autobot Doctor, Gears, and Constructicon Scavenger on the Transformers, as we've noted several times. In 1985, new episodes of The Jetsons were produced, and Messick returned as Astro, Rudy, Mac, and Uniblob, a pesky robot that worked for Mr. Spacely. Let's see. He also starred in the Masters of the Universe Golden Book video as He-Man. So, Golden Book video, not to be confused with the Filmation version. Of course, He-Man. The Filmation version of He-Man was John Irvin. In 1985, he voiced Louie and Snitchy in the Pound Puppies TV special. In 1988, he had an uncredited role as the Pimp of the Year pageant announcer on I'm Gonna Get You Sucker! And he returned to his role of Benton Quest on The New Adventures of Johnny Quest, 1986 and 1987. All right. And again, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. Or I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, continuing on here, Messick also played a live-action role on the MTM Enterprises sitcom Duck Factory. For those of you who don't recognize what that MTM stands for, that's Mary Tyler Moore. That was basically the company that was born out of, Mary Tyler Moore's production company that gave us, of course, the Mary Tyler Moore Show. But anyway, playing a cartoon voice actor named Wally Wooster. In one episode, frequent collaborator Frank Welker guest starred as a rival voice artist angling for his job. Don Messick said of his character on the show, quote, Wally was never quite sure whether he was Wally or Dippy Duck, unquote, quote unquote. From 1990 to 1995, he voiced Hamilton J. Pig in Amblin's Tiny Toon Adventures and its spin-offs. Around that time, he also returned as the voice of Droopy for Tom and Jerry Kids and Droopy Master Detective, as of course original voice actor Bill Thompson has long passed away. On the 1995 Freakazoid episode Toby Danger in Doomsday Bet, a spoof of Johnny Quest, he played Dr. Vernon Danger, a parody of Benton Quest. At a charity speaking engagement in London shortly before his death, he performed many of his characters except Scooby-Doo. He claimed that giving up smoking had robbed him of the necessary rasp in his natural voice to voice him. Oh, that kind of sucked. Retirement. In late September 1996, Messick retired from acting after he suffered a stroke at a recording session at Hanna-Barbera. On October 12, 1996, he had a quote-unquote retirement party at his favorite Chinese restaurant. In parentheses, Joseph Barbera personally sent a limo to Messick and his wife. The two were chauffeured, unparenthesed. Classic way to treat one of your employees. Many of his friends and peers Many of his friends and peers during his career who had come to pay tribute to him included Henry Corden, who, of course, the second voice of Fred Flintstone, as well as Pa Rugg, Casey Kasem, his partner in Scooby-Doo, Shaggy. Casey Kasem also, of course, voiced Robin in Super Friends, Alan in Josie and the Pussycats, and Mark in Battle of the Planets. Lucille Bliss, best known for a role as Smurfette in the Smurfs. Maurice LaMarche, numerous characters, most notably, of course, the Brain from Pinky and the Brain and the Animaniacs cartoons. Greg Berger, of course, worked alongside Messick in the Transformers. Greg Berger would voice several characters in the Transformers, including, of course, Long Haul and or actually no, he was Long Haul in of the Constructicons as well as Grimlock. Neil Ross, who of course was Slag of the Dinobots, Bone Crusher, and Hook, as well as Springer in Transformers. June Foray, who of course most notably known as Granny from Looney Tunes. Sharon Mack, Greg Burson, who would portray a number of the characters later on, including Bugs Bunny. Walker Edmondson, who of course was H.R. Pufnsnuff, as well as Inferno from Transformers. Marvin Kaplan. Gary Owens, who is the voice of Space Ghost. Howard Morris, the voice of Adam Ant, the original voice of Adam Ant, Mr. Peebles. Teresa Genzel. Gene Vanderbilt, of course, Wilmer Flintstone, Ma Rugg, and Meredith Martin Butler, Dawson's widow. Anyways, All right, personal life and death, and then we'll wrap this portion of the show. Okay, you got legacy too. So, start to wrap this. Let's see where are we at on time. All right, yeah. So we'll get through the rest of this real quick. So, personal life and death. Messick married Helen McHugh on October 10th, 1953, and they remained married until Messick's death on October 24th, 1997. That would have been their 2 weeks after their 44th anniversary. Together they have one child, Timothy Charles Messick. Messick suffered a second stroke and died on October 24th, 1997 in Salinas, California. He was 71 years old. Legacy. Don Messick's legacy. Since Messick's death in 1997, Hadley Kay, Scott Innes, Neil Fanning, and Frank Welker have all voiced the role of Scooby-Doo. In 1998, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island was dedicated to his memory. In 2011, Jonathan Winters, who played Grandpa Smurf in the television series of the Smurfs, as well as became Messick's successor as the voice of Papa Smurf in the Smurfs and its 2013 sequel. Jonathan Winters also guest starred on a couple of episodes of the new Scooby-Doo movies from back in 1972, I believe. Winters died after finishing his voice work on the later film. In 2000, Billy West also became one of Messick's successors as the new voice of Muttley in the 2000 Dreamcast video game. The 2017 reboot of Wacky Races and the Scooby-Doo animated film Scoob, which featured archive recordings of Messick for Muttley's Laugh and a place named after him called Messick Mountain. Alrighty then, so, and I guess we can go down real quick and just take a look at all the, work he did. He did some work in radio before getting in, films, The House of Tomorrow, The Kitchen Narrator, uncredited, the reissue version only. So, The House of Tomorrow was an MGM cartoon. I just recently watched it. In fact, it was a Tex Avery cartoon where they basically were showing you the house of, but it was the reissue version that he was a part of. Of course, Loopy de Loop, Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, Man Called Flint. These are the films. Puff and Snuff, Charlotte's Web, Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July, Chomps, Turn of the King, Scoob, archival footage, Tiny Toon Adventures, and we've gone over a lot of his TV work. Time for Bean. He was, of course, Rough and Ready, as I've noted several times, was his first work for Hanna-Barbera. Season 2 through 6, 1961 to, all this, we went through a lot of it already. So, anyways, so with that being said, that's all I got for you guys in terms of the article tonight. So what we will do now is we will get ready to move on to the wrestling wrap-up. We'll take a look back over this weekend's wrestling, and we'll just kind of go back to at least Saturday night's main event and Double or Nothing, the two big events that happened over the weekend. As from this past Saturday night, WWE held its 44th episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, which took place in the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum in Fort Wayne, Indiana, with Wade Barrett and Michael Cole on commentary. Opening match saw Jade Cargill, along with B-Fab and Meechin, defeat the team of Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and WWE Women's Champion Rhea Ripley, of course, leading into this coming weekend's title defense against Jade Cargill. In the non-title match, Sol Ruka defeated Becky Lynch by DQ when as Sol Ruka was going for her Soul Snatcher move, Becky pulled referee Jessica Carr into the move, in which Sol Ruka hit the move on the ref. Instead, the ref eventually disqualified Becky for the match. There's some talk that Sol may have actually hurt herself on that as well. So, but more news to come on that, I'm sure. In the match of the Intercontinental title, Penta retained over Ethan Page in 14 minutes 22 seconds, eventually hitting the Mexican Destroyer, that springboard front flip pile driver on him. Brie Bella and Paige were able to retain the WWE Women's Tag Team titles over the irresistible forces of Nia Jax and Lash Legend. Kind of with Paige getting the pinfall with support from Brie Bella by using her legs on Paige's back to give her more leverage. Main event saw the Vision of Logan Paul and Austin Theory retain the WWE World Tag Team Championships over the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. So that's what we got for you for Saturday night's main event. Now to move ahead to Double or Nut, the Double Nothing pay-per-view from AEW on Sunday. First up on the buy-in show, the pre-show. The buy-in show, as well as the main show, took place at the Louis Armstrong Stadium in New York City. For the pre-show, the buy-in pre-show, Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, and Tony Schiavone on commentary. The opening match of the pre-show saw in a 5-minute challenge eliminator match, Divine Dominion of Megan Bayne and Lena Cross defeated a team of Zeta Steel and Viva Van with Christopher Daniels in a corner in 4 minutes 45 seconds. This also led to a confrontation as Ty J, Ty Mello, and Anna Jay coming out to confront Divine Dominion as the next potential challengers for the AEW Women's World Tag Team titles. In 6-man tag action, the Death Riders trio of Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Wheeler Yuta, with Marina Shafir in the corner, defeated the Ox trio, Andy Bowens, Hook, and Katsuya Shibata, in somewhat of a prelude to later in the show. And then the main event of the pre-show, in 10-man tag action, Boom and Doom of Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall teaming with the conglomerations Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong, Big Justice, Harley Cameron, and the Rizzler in the corner, defeating Shane Taylor Promotions of Anthony Ogogo, the Infantry's Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, Ring of Honor Pure Champion Lee Moriarty and Shane Taylor, with Christian XO in their corner. So that was on the pre-show for that event. Now for the main show, also happening, of course, from the Louis Armstrong Stadium in New York City. On the main show, of course, the commentary team was Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, Tony Schiavone, and Taz, and then with Don Callis and Jim Ross joining us. The show opened up with the World Tag Team title I Quit match, in which Christian Cage and Adam Copeland defeated FTR to become the new AEW World Tag Team Champions. couple of notes here. It had Cage and Cope lost the match, they would have been forced to retire as a team. And also, one other little note, this is the first time that Christian Cage and Adam Copeland held tag team gold together in 21 years. So, in a match for the international title, Konosuke Takeshita defeated Kazuchika Okada in just over 19 minutes to become the new international title holder, with Konosuke Takeshita now becoming a double champion, holding now the AEW international title as well as the New Japan World Television title. In the women's tournament quarterfinal match, in the quarterfinal match in the women's bracket of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena defeated Mina Shirakawa in a match that was originally supposed to be Alex Windsor versus Willow Nightingale in a battle of two champions there. But Willow Nightingale was forced to pull out of the tournament as well as relinquish the TBS title this past Wednesday due to injury she sustained in her last title defense against Red Velvet. Then we had the two of the men's tournament quarterfinal matches, and the first one, before that, we actually had the Continental title no time limit match in kind of a continuation of the Death Riders conglomeration feud. Jon Moxley successfully defended the title against Kyle O'Reilly in 18 minutes 44 seconds. Then in the two men's tournament quarterfinal matches scheduled for the show, Will Ospreay defeated Samoa Joe in 13 minutes 52 seconds, and Swerve Strickland defeated Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito. Both Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland advancing in the semifinals of the tournament. Dina advancing earlier. In the four-way match for the women's world title, Tekla retained over Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter, and Chris Statlander. In the Stadium Stampede match, in the match that was somewhat limited due to the fact that the New York State Athletic Commission apparently really cracked down on them. There could be no blood in the match, and they couldn't fight in the crowd, so that severely limited the match. The team of course, Jack Perry, Jericho, the Elite of Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks of Matt and Nick Jackson, the Hurt Syndicate, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley defeated the team of the Don Callis family duo of Andrade El Idolo and Mark Davis. The Demands, Ricochet, and the Gates of Agony, Bishop Khan Leona, and the Dogs of Clark Connors and David Finlay in 31 minutes 10 seconds. And MJF won back the AEW World title from Darby Allin in a title versus hair match. And, well, I'm not sure, but I think I did see a headline somewhere that Kevin Knight might have gotten involved in that match. So that's but again, all I saw was a headline. I haven't actually seen any of the story yet on that. So there we go with that. So now we're gonna go ahead and take a look ahead to what's going down on tonight's Monday Night Raw. On tonight's Monday Night Raw, coming from the Value City Arena at the Jerome Schonstein Center in Columbus, Ohio. Scheduled for tonight, Penta defends the Intercontinental title against Javon Evans. In tag team action, Bayley and Lyra Valkyria will be taking on Judgment Day duo of Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, and Seth Rollins is set to take on Montez Ford of the Street Profits. So, and then let's go ahead and take a quick peek as well as tonight's show will of course be another go home, 2 straight go home shows, 2 weeks in a row here, due to the fact that they jammed up a bunch of PLEs together. But going into this weekend's Clash in Italy, go ahead and take a look at that. Clash in Italy, of course, will be taking place this Sunday from the Inalip Arena in Turin, Italy. Scheduled on the show include Brock Lesnar going up against Obafemi. In a tribal combat match for the WWE World Heavyweight title, Roman Reigns is set to defend against his cousin Jacob Fatu. Becky Lynch will be defending the Women's Intercontinental title against Sol Ruca. Rhea Ripley is set to defend the WWE Women's title against Jade Cargill. And Cody Rhodes is set to defend the undisputed WWE title, or just simply the WWE title, against Gunther. All right, so that's all we got for you guys for the wrestling wrap-up, as it were. With that being said, now, of course, time to start wrapping things up here. With today being, of course, Monday, May the 25th, 2025, or 2026, rather. Let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So let's see, 2011, 1976, 46, and 2011, I believe. All right. So first off, we're going to head back 80 years ago, as on this date 80 years ago, back in 1946. The Merry Melodies short, Warner Brothers Merry Melodies short, Hair Raising Hair, premiered in theaters on this date back in 1946. It was directed by Chuck Jones, written by Ted Pierce, starring Bugs Bunny, and of course featuring the introduction of Chuck Jones's Orange Monster character, Gossamer. So, on this date 80 years ago today, the premiere of Hair Raising Hair from Warner Brothers. So now moving ahead to the year 1976, which of course was 50 years ago. On this date 50 years ago, in 1976, in Tampa, Florida, Bob Orton Jr. For WWE fans, that's of course Cowboy Bob Orton or Randy Orton's dad, Bob Orton Jr. Won the NWA Florida heavyweight title from Jack Briscoe in Tampa, Florida. So on this date in Tampa, Florida, Bob Orton Jr. defeated Jack Briscoe to become the new NWA Florida heavyweight title champion. Bob Orton Jr., of course, the father of Randy Orton. So, with that being said now, we get ready to move on to the next piece of Nietzsche history. We move ahead to the year 2011. And on this date in the year 2011, I'll pull it up. So going on sale on newsstands from DC's Vertigo imprint, the 15th issue of American Vampire went on sale on this date back in 2011, 15 years ago today. It sold for $2.99, 44 pages, featured 2 stories. Part 3, the Ghost War story, and Super 8. And 2011 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. And also on this date in the year 2011, the following anime were released on this date back in, or following specials were released on this date back in 2011. The beginning of the Kare ni Kaizo specials from Shaft, well, Dame Shiki specials, and Studio Gokumi's A channel plus A channel. All these specials premiered on this date back in 2011, 15 years ago. Alrighty then. So there we go, folks. I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. We'll be back here with more Neat News tomorrow. So with that, I thank you all for being here, and I hope to see you all back here tomorrow. Bye.